Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your immigration questions. So I have a great topic to talk to you about tonight. I get this question very often, and it is, how can I apply for permanent residence in the United States without the need to get married? And yes, there are ways to do this. You can obtain it through employment. You can obtain permanent residence through other family members, not just through marriage. And there are, if you do have other types of statuses, it may lead to permanent residence. And then there is also the diversity lottery, and that is basically the lottery for the green card. So I'm going to explain it from a very, very general point of view, just because each one of these are very complex. I can spend hours and hours talking about this. And so it's very important for you to schedule a consultation if you would like to pursue one of these options. So let's get started. The first is employment. So employment is a large category, and there are subcategories of employment-based permanent residence. But when you talk about if there is another way to obtain permanent residence in a faster way than marriage, employment-based immigration permanent residence comes to mind. And this is because it is one of those processes that can move faster, just depending though on what category you're in and even what country you're from. Because there are certain countries, for example, like China and India, where they experience long wait times for employment immigration, but for other countries, not so much. So let us see. Let me remind you also that I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments. I will answer your questions. All right. So, Christy, can illegal immigrant who won the lottery get his money? So that is not necessarily an immigration question. You'll probably have to call the state on that one. I'm good, Washington, DC. Thanks for asking. I hope you're all good, and I hope that you enjoyed your Christmas holiday, or even if you don't celebrate Christmas, that you enjoy the festive time. And it continues because now we have the New Year's to look forward to. Anyway, so let us get started, but I want to remind you that I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So feel free to put your questions in the comments. I will answer it, and it does not have to be related to the topic that I have tonight. And that topic is ways that you can gain permanent residence without getting married, because that's a common question. Now, the first is employment, but there are different categories of employment. So for instance, if you are on the L1 visa already, or you're looking at a possible L1 visa, there is the possibility that once you are in the United States, you can apply for permanent residence, but your employer has to be the one to sponsor you. There are types of employment-based immigrant visas that allow you to self-petition. But in all of these categories, the main concern here is, do you qualify? What are the needs of your employer? If your employer is going to be involved, what are the needs of the country? So the one where you can self-petition for yourself is called the Extraordinary Ability Green Card, or the National Interest Waiver. In these cases, it's usually where there's a shortage in the field and you have shown exceptional or extraordinary ability in that field. And so the next step is to apply to be able to contribute to the United States. Now, in order to qualify for this, the main thing is that you have to show about 3 out of 10 pieces of evidence to show that you qualify. Some of those evidence would, and this is for the extraordinary ability green card, and some of these types of evidence would be, for example, if you've had publications, if you've won national or international awards, if you're known as an expert in your field, if you're a member of a selective organization or association based on your extraordinary ability, if you've been invited to join a panel of judges because you're highly revered in the field, if you get paid more than the average because of who you are and your achievements in the field, if you have been featured in reputable publications. So those are just some 7 out of the 10 that I listed, 10 pieces of evidence you'd have to show. Usually you have to show 3 out of the 10. All right, so I'm going to take pause to answer questions here. An easy way for an American citizen marry a woman from Dominican Republic. So Washington, D.C., how you get married is not necessarily an immigration question. It's how do you get your spouse to be here? Now, one thing I do want to say is if easy way to get married, I don't know what that means. Does it mean do you have to travel there, or do they have to come here? If you want them to come here and they don't have a visa to come to the United States, you'd have to get a fiancé visa to get married in the United States. And the fiancé visa right now, you could be looking at over a year to get that fiancé visa. It may, in that case, if time is something that you where you want to get it done faster, then going to the Dominican Republic and getting married to your fiance would probably be the best way to just cut that whole fiance visa part out of the picture, get married, and start on the spouse visa. So Washington, D.C., that is maybe one way that you could facilitate marriage faster. I don't know if there's an easier way, though, to do this. And it really comes down to you and your fiance's preferences. What are your wishes? And that's where you should schedule a consultation. If you really have something related to immigration where you want to get the fiance visa, or you want to look at obtaining the spouse visa. How long does it take USCIS to upgrade an I-130 after becoming a citizen? So TT Tappin, I wouldn't have that information. Well, you can always check whenever you're submitting information in writing, it usually takes them a few weeks, so at least 2 weeks for them to enter it into the system. So you should just call them and check to see where they're at and make sure that they've gotten this information. How long does it take for one to get a visa when married in a different country? So it's taking about 18 to 24 months right now. Hi there, Chocolate 3185. It's always nice to see you. Okay, so Washington, D.C., 2030. So yes, I'll work on the spouse visa. All right, and Washington, D.C., 2030, just make sure you get personal legal advice. You can always do that by scheduling. There is the link in my profile. You can go to the website, and on the contact page, you're able to book your own consultations. And then make sure you follow through with that. You can also call the number, because you should not be acting on this on the information you're getting on this live, because it's not specifically tailored for you. It's general information. So that is just the side note. Hi there, Dark Horse 45. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. All right, so keep putting those questions in the comments. Hi there, Christine, Sukram, it's nice to see you. So good evening. My cousin was allowed to come to the US via Mexico. Now he wants to move to a different state. So it depends on when he came into the country. Was he given a notice to appear in immigration court? Does he have to report? Whether he can move to a different state is really going to depend on what are the restrictions placed on him after he entered the United States. So make sure that they get legal advice, get an attorney to guide them through, because whenever you have registered with the immigration, it's always best to submit a change of address to them. But if you are also scheduled to appear in court, that is going to change that information here. You may have to get a change of venue if you have moved to another state. You definitely have to let the court know. So Kervin Pratt, he was given a notice to appear. He was released to my address. So Kervin, he needs an attorney. All right, so keep those questions coming. Tonight, I'm touching on the topic how to get permanent residence if without getting married. So yes, there are ways to do that. Whether that can work for you is going to really depend on your particular circumstances, but I am giving you a general overview of some of those ways. And I'm touching on employment tonight because a lot of people don't think about employment as an avenue, and it could very well be an option. Now, with employment, what makes employment challenging to go from going without status to getting status is that you usually have to maintain your legal status in the United States. And then furthermore, you cannot stay in the United States, apply for permanent residence, and have a history of working without a permit when you're applying for employment base. There is that one exception though. Say you have been here without status, but you have not worked without permission. And you are looking at an employer, because the employer, in most cases, the employer has to be involved unless you're self-petitioning through, for example, the extraordinary ability green card. But if the employer wants to go ahead and sponsor you and you're out of status, but you do have a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardship, there is a waiver. So in this case, there is a solution, right? If you don't qualify for adjustment of status, this could still be a way to fix your status if an employer wants to sponsor you, but you still would have to have a family relationship with at least a US citizen or resident parent. And the reason employment here may still be a great option is it may be faster. For example, if you have a US citizen or resident parent and you're over 21, you're 21 and over, that's 5 to 7 year process right now. But with employment, you could be looking at anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, except for certain countries like China and India. And so that is one of the ways to fix your status and still get permanent residence through an employer. But one issue here is working without a permit. That would still prevent you if you work without a permit here. So let's see, I'm having a US girlfriend, but I live in Africa. Which visa is faster for me to join her in the US? So you would not be able to get a visa through your girlfriend. You could always apply for a visitor's visa. That, it depends on what the embassy is doing right now with all the restrictions. They may not be handing out visas right now. They may be. You have to check the US embassy in your country. But with the US visa, you have to make sure that you can show your strong ties to your home country, that you're going to return after a short visit. Now, if you and your US girlfriend, you up your game and you commit to an engagement where you plan to get married, you seriously plan to get married, there's a fiance visa. And so as long as your US citizen girlfriend, intends to get married to you and she's seen you in the most recent 2 years, the fiance visa could be an option for you. Now, let me remind you, I'm also on YouTube. Go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I'm watching out for your questions on YouTube and TikTok. You know me already and you've been here with me so many times, so you know how it goes. But I just want to let those of you who are watching me on YouTube know that you can always ask any immigration questions that you like. All right. So let us see here. So how long does it take to get a green card through my employment? So CAMS 356, remember that employment is going to depend, right? Is the employer fully on board? Do you qualify to apply on your own if you can show extraordinary ability or if you can obtain a national interest waiver? Both of those don't require an additional step called the labor certification. If you do qualify through an employer or through an employment base, you're looking at anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. So it is on a shorter timeline, and it is one of the faster ways outside of getting married to a US citizen that you can obtain permanent residence. But I want to follow that with a major disclaimer. With most employment-based permanent residence processes, you cannot just apply on your own. There are two called the National Interest Waiver or the Exceptional Ability or the Extraordinary Ability, the EB1. And with those, you are able to self-petition, but you have to show 3 out of 10 pieces of evidence that you hold extraordinary ability. For example, extraordinary ability means that you're at the top of your field. So if, for example, if you're an athlete and you're at the top of your field in athletics, or you're in the arts, like you're a musician, you're well known in your country or internationally, you have achieved many awards nationally or internationally. If you are, a judge on many musical competitions, reputable musical competitions, if you've been featured in a magazine, or if you are a famous musician and you have written your articles on music in major reputable art magazines or publications, these are examples of ways to prove your extraordinary ability. That's where the consultation is going to be very, very important to prove this. Now, with other kinds of categories, for example, you do have for the professionals, you have for unskilled labor as well. With those, an employer has to be 100%, and in some cases, if you, for example, you're a professor at a university, or you're a manager in a US company but in a foreign country, and you hold L1, for example, L1 visa, you could apply for the permanent residence, but you're going to need the employer to be 100%. As a matter of fact, the employer is going to be the one taking the lead. The employer is going to be the one that's going to be submitting the petition on your behalf. All right. Great question. So I forgot to ask, how much is your consultation? So Finn's mommy, it's nice to see you here. And I'm hoping that your baby is recovering well. It sounded like everything was taking a turn for the better. And I hope that you're on that path and that your mom is able to be there during this hard time. To answer your question, my consultation fee is $150 for up to an hour. And in that time, you get legal advice that you need. This is not just going to be a situation where I'm going to glaze over your situation. It is a detailed consultation where we do a full evaluation, provide you your options, and then also provide you the option to represent you in your case, should you qualify. All right. Does being a witness in court affect my USCIS case? So Jay, speak up. It depends. Are you, if by being a witness, was there any wrongdoing on your part? Is this some kind of witness protection program? It really depends, and I wouldn't be able to give you any specific legal advice. It may, just depending on how it implicates you in any kind of wrongdoing. So my US girlfriend is planning, she come visit me so we can be engaged. How long does it take if for the fiance visa? So you're looking at over a year for the fiance visa, and some, it depends on which embassies we're dealing with, because some of them are not issuing K1 visas. So whether it's going to work for you is going to be dependent on those factors. I'm pregnant after having baby. Can I file for my green card? So flawless 12, unfortunately not. If you're talking about having a baby, having a U.S. citizen child, it will not grant you any status or right to status until that baby turns 21. So thank you. I'll book it Monday. I'm glad that I know it's a long road to recovery, but moving forward nevertheless. Thanks for the update, Finn's mommy, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon. What's the transition from H1 visa to a green card? Thank you for answering. So if you have an H1B visa, you are able to, your employer may be able to apply for you. And then again, CAMS 356, it really depends, right? Because you could have a current status and you could qualify for any of the other types of employment-based permanent residence. It just depends. So you're still going to have to submit your employer would still have to submit the petition for you if they have to be involved, or you still have to submit the petition proving that you can self-petition. So CAMS 356, that's where you need to schedule a consultation. Let's talk about we have to get very specific with you in order to determine what would be the best path to transition from one status to a permanent residence process. All right, keep those questions coming. So I've been touching on ways to obtain permanent residence without getting married. So the next one that I have touched very generally on employment, right? That is one of those areas that I think there are sometimes there are misconceptions, like you can just apply on your own for a work permit. It doesn't work that way. In some cases, the employer has to be 100% involved, or you have to prove that you qualify to apply on your own by showing your qualifications, your education level, your training, how well known you are in your field. And so you should schedule a consultation. When it comes on to, but keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to get the permanent residence just based off of having some sort of skill. There is the category for unskilled workers to obtain permanent residence. In that case, the employer has to be 100% involved. For example, truck drivers. If the employer has to show, though, that they need you on a permanent basis, and you have to go through what's called a labor certification process before you can petition, but still then you would be looking at 6 months to 18 months for this process. Even through the unskilled labor category. So it's worth exploring, and you should have a good talk with your employer as well, because this is something your employer, if you are an employer and you need labor, you do need an employer, you want to invest in an immigrant, then you should schedule a consultation for sure. Hi, glad to have you on. My son is waiting for an interview date in Jamaica. Do you know when? Unfortunately not. I've seen wait times for the interview from 3 months to even a year. So it is backed up in Jamaica right now, and you should check with the embassy. Can you bring your adult children here when you're a green card holder? Yes, Atlanta, Manny, you can't bring your married children, but you can bring your unmarried children. If they're under 21 and unmarried, it's a good time to apply. I hear you said adult children, but outside of immigration, children under immigration law are considered under 21 and unmarried. If you are over, if your children are 21 or over, it's 5 to 6 years. If they're under 21, then it could be anywhere from 18 to 24 months. All right, so other ways to get permanent residence without getting married. So there is family, right? But not the spouse. You can get it through other family members. I just mentioned the first. Atlanta Armani is the adult children of green card holders. As long as they're unmarried, you can come. But these processes take longer, right? If you're the immediate relative of a US citizen, that means you're the parent of a US citizen who's 21 and up, or you're the son or daughter of a US citizen who is under 21 and unmarried. That's the fastest process, other than marriage. If you are outside of that category, then you're looking at years worth of a process. And it's going to be dependent on whether you see it as worth pursuing. Should you want permanent residence and you're trying to find the best way to do it. Don Rob, you're welcome. What about a babysitter? So it is very possible. Yes, so obtaining a babysitter, a nanny, as an unskilled labor is possible. So get that consultation or speak with your employer and make sure they understand that this could be a possibility. How long does it take to have a US fiance? I'm from Africa. So you're looking at over a year right now for those. And it depends if the country is currently scheduling K1 visa interviews. My friend applied last January to renew her green card. She got the extension letter, but still waiting. Yes, Jamaica, Devon, it is taking quite a while to get through with those. All right. So I just touched on family, right? So the family members who can apply for you are US citizen, parent. And the faster processes is if you're under 21 of a US, you under 21 son or daughter of a US citizen. That is 18 to 24 months. Or if you are the parent of a US citizen who is 21 and up, those two are taking anywhere from 18 months to 24 months. When you get outside of those categories, though, it's taking much longer. So, for example, if you're the son or daughter of a green card holder, 21 and up, 5 to 6 years. If you're under 21 of a green card holder and unmarried, it is taking 18 to 24 months right now, just because there is no wait list for an immigrant visa number. Now, if you are the son or daughter 21 and up of an unmarried of a US citizen, it's taking 6 to 7 years. If you are this married son or daughter of a US citizen, it is taking 12 years or more. And then also there's the sibling of a US citizen who's 21 and up, that's 14 years. It could be as long as 22 years in Mexico. So those processes take much longer. And then there are other ways. So if you have the T visa or the U visa, after having those two types of visas, and if you have it, if you're looking at applying for the T visa based on trafficking, or the U visa based on being the victim of a crime, once you do get approved for it, or you currently have it, after 3 years, you could look at adjusting status. If you are an asylum seeker or you've received asylum after a year of having asylum, then you could get it. And then there is a diversity lottery. And in some cases, if you're maintaining status in the United States and you have, and you got the diversity lottery, that could be a possibility to get that within the next year. So, and you have to be, and the diversity lottery is basically the lottery for the green card. So those are some of the ways that you are able to obtain permanent residence without getting married. I know I touched on it in very, very general terms, extremely general terms. But what I urge you to do is schedule a consultation to evaluate which one could be best for you. Let's see. So my friend applied last with a teaching program and the school will be sponsoring me. How long before I apply for the waiver? So usually you'd have to have an approved petition to apply for the waiver. Can she go ahead and apply for her citizenship while waiting? Jamaica, Devon, that's going to depend on her particular circumstances. I'll need to speak with her in a consultation. How long does it take to have a U.S. spousal visa if you hire an attorney I'm from Africa? So the same amount. An attorney does not make the process go any faster. An attorney can help you to make for a smoother process to avoid mistakes and then avoid delays as a result. But an attorney does not have the power to tell the immigration service to make your process move faster. So I am going to head on over to Instagram. The name of the Instagram is The Immigration Attorney. I do a live there as well. So, and I also post my lives on YouTube. I'm The Immigration Attorney on YouTube. And on Instagram, I'm The Immigration Attorney on Instagram. So you can go ahead and you can go to either one of those and watch watch the lives again. If you would like personal legal advice, that's where you should schedule a consultation to ask those questions, especially if you want to take action. Camps 356, you're welcome. And thanks so much for the love and the rose. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, to continue to take your questions and also to bring a good topic for you. So in the meantime, have a great night. Enjoy the last couple of hours of the holiday weekend. And if you're continuing the party, please do that on my behalf as well. In the meantime, you'll keep seeing me. Have a good one. Bye-bye.